outlines the shape of your peach.
So many clothes to try on.
I'm pretty sure everyone that follows me is sick to death of it, but I don't care. What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel, the place that you can come to learn everything you need to know about building a business within the health and fitness industry. My name is Beverly, and I am launching a clothing line this Thursday, which is in a couple days. So I thought it was a perfect time to make a video to kind of explain the process of launching this clothing line, or some advice for you if you are looking to launch your own, and what to look out for. To be completely transparent with you, the way I launch my clothing line is very different from how many other people launch theirs. I actually had Sarah reach out to me. She runs this company called You. It's like an intermediary between the factories and an influencer or the client. So what she does is, because You has contacts with all these suppliers, they run as the go-between between the influencer or the client and the warehouses. So I launched my first collection with Sarah last year, and it was a really, really fun experience. It was a lot of work. Every month I had a new set of samples coming out to me, and we learned a lot in that time. So I know that a lot of people don't really have that same opportunity to work with an agency because there are other costs involved, and I'll talk about that, versus doing it directly yourself. It doesn't even have to be clothing. I got a lot of experience launching products for the Sweat Nation website, so like resistance band, booty band, sliders, things like that. All a very similar process. So I mentioned working with someone like Sarah or with You, I only actually take 20% of all the money that comes in. So if I make $10,000 in sales on this launch, I'll only get $2,000 of that. But I find that there's pros and cons with that, because the pros are Sarah and the You team take care of everything. They take care of, like I said, all the sample creations, going back and forth with the warehouse. They actually handle all the deliveries, all the fees associated with that. They handle packaging everything up, any customer service issues that might come up. Hopefully there are none, but they would handle that. All that I do is I come up with the product ideas, the designs, and I go back and forth on the samples and the fabrics that I want to use, and then I market it. I promote it through Instagram or through my newsletter, however I want to market it. The cons to that is obviously I only get 20%, but I don't really see it as a con, because I am so busy with so many other projects and other things that I'm working on, that launching a clothing line or having a clothing line is just something that's like a nice thing for me to add on to my services. If I were to run a clothing line and launch an actual product line that was like my full business, that would take so much extra time, because just going back and forth with factories and suppliers and the warehouses, it would take so much time. So for me to just take this like smaller cut and not have to worry about any of the other stuff is really great, to be honest. By the way, I'm drinking wine because it's 5:30. If you're looking to do this all on your own, you want to bootstrap it, you want to start from ground zero, I definitely have some tips and takeaways that you can do for your own clothing line. So the first thing would be to find a supplier or find a factory that can make your clothing. And you can use like Alibaba. You can literally just Google like manufacturers in China or manufacturers in Canada, Hong Kong, wherever, and start looking for those suppliers. It's very similar how we did it with the Sweat Nation product line. We reached out to several different suppliers, and each one really wants your business. Like, they will send you emails, they will follow up, they want to work with you. And so sometimes they send out a catalog, sometimes you'll send them images and be like, do you have something like this? And they'll send you back photos. When you are ordering your products, there's always going to be an MOQ, and the MOQ is your minimum order quantity. Some items might be 100, some might be 1,000. It really depends like what it is. For example, when we're selling booty bands, certain booty bands in a certain color, the minimum order quantity was 1,000. But for something a little bit bigger, like a sweater, it might only be 100 or 150. So really find out when you're going back and forth with those suppliers what their minimum order quantity is. And you'll also find that the higher number you order, the cheaper it is. So maybe a sweater, if you order 100, it's like 20 bucks per. or if you order 1,000, it's gonna be like 15. So depending on what your budget is, you can kind of decide how many you wanna order. Something else to think about is your samples. So anytime a factory will ship out a sample, they will charge you for that sample and they will charge you for shipping. So make sure before you ask for any samples to get a quote for everything. And you can get quotes from all these different suppliers because they might look like they all sell the same thing, but they're all gonna be slightly different because they're all different factories. So make sure that like when you're asking for these samples, you're getting a quote from them to make sure how much it's gonna cost, how much the shipping will be, and really being on top of that. What we did when we launched my clothing line in the first year, there were so many things going back and forth. I wanted to use a different fabric for my leggings. The leggings were too long. I wanted a different strap for the sports bra, and what ended up happening was Sarah sent me like 5 sets of clothing. It was so expensive to continue to send these items. There was import fees, all this stuff. So what we did for the second round for the items that I'm wearing now is she sent me a big package of different fabrics. I chose which fabrics I wanted for different items. We talked about different patterns. So like the camel pattern was actually screen printed onto a white fabric. Once we decided all the fabrics we were going to use, what they did was they took all the designs that I had come up with and they put them into a little 3D modeling system. So it had all of my measurements. They put the designs onto the 3D modeling thing, and then they had those fabrics as well. So it was really cool. It actually gave me a really good idea of how everything would fit and how everything would look. So instead of going back and forth, getting new samples and spending all that money and having all this extra clothing that I was never gonna wear because they were samples that didn't fit, we did it all on the 3D model. And then once everything was completely perfected, she sent out those samples. I made my last minute changes. So for example, I had this sports bra. The sports bra kind of like the straps went like this, and I wanted them to go like that. So we just made all those final changes, redid them on the 3D model, sent them back, and everything was literally perfect. If you're planning to work with a factory, you should find out if they do offer 3D modeling or if they have anything of that technology, because it's really going to save you some money and time. After we received all the samples, or after I received all like the final products, I set up a photo shoot. So last year what I did was I set up 2 separate photo shoots. I had an in-studio photo shoot for like all the e-com photos, and then I had a gym photo shoot. It was good, and I'm glad I did it. It was just super time consuming. Each shoot took about like 4 hours, and that doesn't even include the edits, the pics. This year what we did instead was I had a very specific look and feel for what I wanted for this shoot. I wanted it to be kind of like minimal editing, natural lighting. Even though there are athletic items in this collection, still wanted to be kind of on trend, which is like, you know, wearing everything as athleisure or just like as loungewear. It doesn't always have to be worn in a workout. So we did just one shoot. It did take a while. It took like 4 hours, but it was a lot more efficient than what we did last year. So that was just something to think about. Like, is it super necessary for you to do 2 sets of photo shoots, like a lifestyle one and a e-com studio one, or can you just do everything in one go? I created a Pinterest board. I filled it up with all the photos that I wanted to use as my inspiration, and we went from there. All right, continuing on. So once you've got your products in hand, once you've done your photo shoot, now you need to set up your website. Everything is hosted on the SoSo.U website, and they actually host it on Shopify. I was going to suggest Shopify anyway because that's what we use for the Sweat Nation products. Shopify has so many different templates. You can get a template for pretty much like any product, and all you have to do is Google Shopify template and see what comes up. All these things can be done either by yourself or by somebody off Upwork or Fiverr. Shopify also has a lot of different features. Like we use warehousing, and I'll get to that in a second, but we have a warehouse in Montreal where we store all our Sweat Nation products. Every time someone orders something from our Shopify store, the warehouse gets notified and then they ship it out. So moving on from your website, where you're gonna have all your photos that you just shot, is now warehousing. Where are you gonna store your products? So with my clothing line, everything is made to order, so we don't actually have inventory. The reason why there's only a 3-day opening to purchase products from me, because at the end of those 3 days, we collect all those orders, we ship it off to the factories, they make everything, it gets sent out. However, you're not always gonna have that option. You'll probably need to have inventory. So now you have to ask, where am I going to store everything? Do you have room in your 800 square foot apartment? Maybe not. But if you live in a big house with an extra room, I have a friend who runs a bikini line and she keeps it at her parents' house. You can get really creative, you can get really resourceful for where you want to store everything. However, if you don't have that option, you can use any sort of warehouse. There's so many different ones. So like I said, we have a warehouse in Montreal where we store all our products. They hold all our products and that doesn't cost any money, but anytime they have to package something, anytime they have to ship something out, anytime they have to do anything with those products, that's when they charge us money. You also need to discuss with that warehouse what happens if someone from the States orders. So we're based in Canada, or I'm based in Canada. If someone from the States orders, is it gonna go from Canada to the States, or does that warehouse have another warehouse in the US? Those are the things that you have to talk about with the warehouse itself, because they'll know way more than I would. But if you are gonna do it on your own, then all you need to have is your label maker, which I definitely recommend, instead of just like going to Canada Post every time and like asking them to send 20 different products to 20 different addresses. If you have the label maker at home, you don't even have to worry about that. You need your bags that you're gonna put it in, like however you wanna make it look, all that kind of stuff. And then the final part and the most fun part of any clothing launch is the marketing and the hype and the pre-sale and all of that stuff. That is where you get to be so creative, you get to have fun with it. So what I do is I teased for like 2 to 3 weeks. So my clothing line is launching May 13th. I have been teasing this clothing line for three weeks. I'm pretty sure everyone that follows me is sick to death of it, but I don't care. The more people who see it, the better. So just push, push, push. It's also gonna have this other added element to it, which is scarcity. It is only available for 3 days. If you don't buy within those 3 days, you're not getting any of it. So it's kind of more of an incentive to actually order versus then just having people sit on it. If you only have limited quantities available, really push that. If you only have 50 items, push that that's gonna sell out very soon. I was just filming on IGTV before this, so you can like see what the items look like on me, what sizes I am compared to my buyers. So yeah, that's kind of everything when it comes to launching a clothing line. I mean, obviously there's so much more to it than that. And even though the way I've done it is not the traditional way of starting a clothing line, I have done all this stuff, like I said, when it comes to all my Sweat Nation workout gear and working with suppliers in China and having to talk back and forth with the factories and comparing prices and comparing minimum order quantities and all that stuff. So it's going to take a lot of work, but it doesn't have to be as scary or as daunting as you might think it is. So I hope that makes sense. Please feel free to leave any questions in the comments. Let me know what you think about this video. If you have any specific questions about marketing or anything at all. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a video.